Good afternoon. My name is Dan Singer, and I'm joined by Amy Stedman, Justin Fenchel, and Jason Sheik, and we're the 4 founding members of Beatbox Beverages from Austin, Texas. What you'll learn about us today is we've got a great opportunity in the fast-moving consumer goods space. We've identified a significant market pain, we've tested and developed a product that our consumers are thirsty for, and we're ready to start production next week. We're asking from you today $100,000 in the form of a convertible loan at 11% interest to help move our company from seed stage into early growth. But what we really want to do today is talk to you guys about parties. Now, for young people, parties represent some of our most memorable and important experiences. I want everyone in the audience to close their eyes and think back to their senior year of college. And Lou, I'm going to pick on you just for a second. You're at Cal State in your apartment way back in the day. You're getting ready for your graduation. Now, all your friends are coming over. They've got their gear on. You've got the boombox playing. I don't know what it was back in the day. You can smell the bleach from cleaning up the place. All your friends are coming over, and you can feel the excitement. But Lou, you also feel the pressure of putting on a great party. There's one thing left for you to do, and that's to go get the alcohol. Now, this is an important decision. You want to make sure you get something that everyone can enjoy. But I'm guessing that back in the day, it wasn't a very hard one. You probably went out and bought a keg of beer. Well, that decision that's so important today is not such a straightforward one. Millennials are generally defined as those born between the years of 1977 and 1994. Like any generation, we're doing things in our own unique way. And this is especially true for our alcohol preferences and consumption habits. For one thing, we're much more experimental to new brands and alcohols. We're trending away from beer and towards wines, spirits, and RTDs, or ready-to-drinks. In fact, 78% of millennials now drink from these categories on a regular basis. We talked about that experience and how important it is. Well, it's now even more important to this generation, as well as the brands that they drink. We're also still very value conscious. We buy locally and we care about sustainability. Above all, we drink a lot. In fact, according to a recent Technomics survey, 8 out of 10 millennials had had a drink outside of the home in the last week. As you can see, we're doing things so much differently as a generation, and yet when it comes to providing alcohol for parties, we're faced with largely the same category choices that have existed for decades.
So from our industry research and our own personal experiences, we decided to find out exactly what millennial party providers are looking for, thank you, when making these alcohol purchasing decisions. So we conducted an online survey of 144 millennials and 7 focus groups with another 60 participants. There's 3 key takeaways from this research. First, we found out that the most important criteria when making these purchase decisions is first taste, then price, then alcohol content. We also confirmed that the brand experience is very important and that connecting the right alcohol with the mood of your event is crucial to its success. And third, we learned a lot about the purchase process, and that convenience is a huge driver for this segment. Males typically buy alcohol for parties, and finding something for their female guests to enjoy is paramount. So women, myself included, as well as a growing number of men, prefer an option other than the keg. But the problem is, as you can see from the stripe behind me, that the current beer alternatives do not fully satisfy everything we millennials are looking for. But what if a product could do this? How big of an opportunity would that be? Well, the millennial generation is the most economically influential cohort in US history, with $170 billion in annual spending power. In 2015, all 78 million of us will be 21 or older, which is a huge growth in the market. So to measure this market, we took all off-premise alcohol sales in non-beer categories just made by millennials and laid it at $15.5 billion. In our launch market of Texas alone, it's $1.3 billion. We subscribe the overall growth of the alcohol market, 15% from 2011 to 2016, to this market. So this is a huge opportunity, yet no one else is going after everything that millennials are looking for.
So we're ready to go after this opportunity with our first product, Beatbox. Now, Beatbox is the world's first 5-liter, ready-to-drink mixed alcohol beverage. Take a look. And it offers an ideal, there's nothing in it, we couldn't transport it across state lines. It offers the ideal combination of taste, price, and alcohol content that we millennials care about when it comes to our alcohol purchases. So with regards to taste, Beatbox drinks like a raspberry lemonade and vodka, an easy-to-drink flavor that is the result of over 6 months of flavor testing and 5 iterations from our flavor development company, Flavorman, who's right around the corner here in Louisville. We own the rights to our formula, and it's protected by a trade secret as a standard in the industry. With regards to the price, at $24.99, we offer tremendous value to our consumers. You compare that to a Dailies, which is $10 for 1.75 liters. That's about $30 for the equivalent volume, and they're only 6% alcohol, so it's even more out of whack. At 11.1% alcohol by volume, we knew we had to be above 10% to offer that high-impact experience that the millennial consumer looks for, but we also had to balance it with the taste. So here we feel like we found the perfect combination. So we know we have a product that resonates with the millennial marketplace, but we also know that in order to have a sustainable competitive advantage, we need to build a brand experience going forward. And so we're really excited about several ways we're doing that. And the first is through our B3 mobile application. Now this is going to be a mobile application that's going to be available on the App Store in 2 weeks, and it's going to allow consumers to share photos, find retail locations where Beatbox is sold, as well as upload playlists. And that's incredibly important since music is connecting us as a generation. So imagine the situation where someone in Austin, Texas uploads their playlist and we make it the Beatbox playlist of the week. Now someone in Louisville or Oklahoma can also listen to that playlist and maybe send them a Facebook message saying, hey, thanks for really making my party great. And that's going to connect everyone through the brand experience. Additionally, we're already thinking of other flavors. We were in Flavorman's offices yesterday working on our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th flavors, and we're really excited about launching some of those. And also an individual serving size we think can be really successful. And finally, we have merchandise. You can see the tank tops and the shades. We want to have ambassadors everywhere they go for their social experiences. So in short, we're not just an alcohol company. We're creating a brand experience to go along with it.
As you can see, we've identified a significant market pain, and we feel like we have the right product for this opportunity. But let me first note that while we are a seed stage company, we've put many of the roadblocks of a startup behind us. And that's why today we are here to ask for your $100,000 investment to help us bolster growth in the Austin, Texas area. As well, we want to discuss with some excitement our future plans for Beatbox. So in less than a year, we've obtained all 12 necessary legal permits at the city, state, and federal level to manufacture and sell Beatbox. We've completed our initial product development thanks to months of testing and our partnership with Flavorman. We've completed our manufacturing facility, installed our production line, and are set to begin manufacturing next week. We've also commissioned our sales agent, Craig Richardson, who has 16 years of experience in distributing products such as this, including Kingfisher and Stella Artois. And he's also been crucial to our recent success in landing our first order from Dynamic Brands of Oklahoma. It's 3 pallets, which equates to about 500 boxes, and we view this as a significant achievement for where we are in the process. Finally, we're very excited about the recent level of interest that we've received from both retailers and distributors alike, starting with Twin Liquors. Twin Liquors is Central Texas's largest liquor store chain, and they've agreed to give us a test store in which to merchandise our products adjacent to the UT Austin campus. But what we are most excited about, though, is a meeting or an introduction that we had with the gentleman after we presented to the UT Austin chancellors. This gentleman approached us with a high level of excitement about our product and concept and asked to meet with us as soon as possible. This gentleman turned out to be on the board of directors for Republic Distributors, the 2nd largest in the country. We have set a meeting with him on March 1st to discuss long-term distribution. In fact, on the way out the door, he told us not to sign any contracts with anyone else until we had talked with him.
As you can see, we've already accomplished so much as a company, and we've done it without taking any outside money. We've raised over $60,000 from our management team, as well as an excellent crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo. We're asking today for $100,000. The most important thing for our next stage of development will be to find the right distributor in the Austin area. To do that, we want to make sure we can fully support our customers and our retailers. $75,000 from our ask will go towards support in these marketing categories. The remaining $25,000 will go towards working capital as well as some operational efficiencies. We want to get to scale as quickly as possible. We know that eventually we'll need to outsource production. But in order to get by in the meantime, we want to get some things like pallet jacks, forklift, scales, and do some minor warehouse renovations. Of the remaining funds, they'll go towards working capital in the form of ingredient sourcing.
Our long-term plan for Beatbox is to grow beyond the greater Austin area into other college towns in Texas like Houston, Denton, and College Station. We've also identified other cities in the Southwest region where our sales manager has contacts, and also have universities or otherwise favorable age demographics. At this time, if our meetings with Republic, National, or any distributors that we talk to through the early growth phase go well, and we're able to launch in, say, 10 states at once, which would be an ideal opportunity. We'd have to, again, raise money to find support for marketing at this time, and we have an opportunity to do this through debt financing. We also want to say that we are a branding company, and we know this, and we'd like to outsource production as soon as possible by moving into a co-packer model. We evaluated co-packing from day one, but due to our sales volumes as well as the nature of bag-in-box packaging, we're not able to strike a deal at that time. But we've already identified Florida Distillers, who's a provider of our alcohol, as a possible partner moving forward.
So as you can see from our financials, we're offering dramatic growth in both revenues as well as cash flows and net income over the next couple of years. And importantly, net income is growing a lot faster than sales, given the significant margin increases we get with larger volumes. So in line with that, our cost in Q1 2015, when we will be at scale at roughly 100,000 boxes, is $5.69, and our gross margin will go from 46% to 61%. And the distributor and retailer margins are in line with industry averages at these levels. So we're offering a big return on the $100,000 convertible investment. And what that's going to do is it's going to convert at the end of 2014 to a 10% equity stake in Beatbox. And based on our estimates, that will be a roughly 6 times cash-on-cash return in 2014, up to 19.5 times in 2015. Really a $1.9 million equity value.
And finally, I want to introduce you to the team that's going to make this all happen. B3 management includes Justin Fenchel and myself, as well as Dan Sainer and Amy Stedman. Justin, Dan, and Amy all have prior experience starting businesses, and my background is in product development and sales.
CEO.
Oh, Justin's our fearless leader and our finance expert, as you just
Forgot
saw.
about me.
I handle our operations and sales. Dan manages our brand, and Amy is our technology and social media expert. But we also know what we don't know. And from the very beginning, we've worked with some of the best in the industry to make this idea a reality. You've already heard about our relationship with Craig, as well as Flavorman down the street. We've partnered with Lehrman Beverage Law, who's one of the thought leaders in the beverage law space, having previously represented Four Loko. We've also worked with Scholey, who is the provider of Franzia's bags, and in conjunction with Justman Packaging, have created a packaging concept that is both durable and easily transported across the country.
Over the course of the last 15 minutes, we've told you about a great opportunity. We're asking for $100,000 in the form of a convertible loan at 11% interest. Invest with us. We're a low-risk investment because of all the things that we've already done to build this business. In addition to that, we're a growth company. As you can see, our margins increase significantly with scale. Finally, we have a passionate and capable team and a whole group of industry leaders behind us. Thank you so much for listening today. We'd be happy now to take your questions.
My grandma says thank you.
So every brand stands for something. And what does your brand stand for? And as you answer the question, tell me about what brands you're going against, because you're talking about taking share, you're not talking about adding share.
Correct.
Sure. So what we see this brand, and of course we want to align ourselves very closely with music, we are seeing in the marketplace when we go to music festivals and concerts and millennial parties, there's a sense of togetherness. The fact that you can go anywhere, be alongside a stranger, and interact and engage with them like it's someone that you knew. And forming new relationships is, as you've seen from the digital revolution, something that our generation really cares about. So it seemed perfect to us to create a product that could facilitate this interaction. You can bring this to a party, share it with people you know, share it with people you don't know, and it creates a greater community. We see ourselves competing with products that are in the value space for multiple groups of people partying. That's the main occasion that we're competing with. And this could include malt beverages, it could also include beer, as well as low-cost bag-and-box wines.
Have you piece that you talked about in your business plan is sort of value for alcohol content.
Yes.
And I've just never known anyone to be buying on the basis of value per alcohol content, because generally we buy brands on what we think they're going to do for us, right? If I am seen drinking Dos Equis or Jack Daniels or whatever, that says something about me. So what does, so I guess I'm trying to ask,
what's the brand position?
yeah, the brand, sort of the brand position of this, and how are you know, why am I going to seek this out, and why am I going to buy yours over any of those others?
To answer
You've got a whole issue of creating that brand.
Right. And to answer the first part of your question, you know, we, as far as our target demographic and the legal drinking age to 25, which is our key target, they absolutely are looking for the most bang for their buck when they're making their alcohol purchases. There's a lot of websites that people have said, like, they've divided the alcohol content by cost to get an actual cost per percent alcohol. So it's definitely the case with the millennial consumer. And I'm sorry, the second question.
Well, it's similar brand positioning, you know, because typically alcoholic brands are split between sort of cheap and cheerful all the way up to the super premium.
Yeah.
Where do you have your, I mean, are you in the cheap and cheerful kind of
We're
section?
in the value space, definitely. We see ourselves as a brand that makes millennial social occasions more convenient and more fun. And a lot of times that means, what's the most convenient? What gives me the best value? What can I take to a party that everyone's going to enjoy? And that's squarely where we want to be.
So let me, I'm going to ask you two questions. First, oh, there we go. What is your South by Southwest strategy?
Yeah, it's a good question, very timely. We are actually partnering with it's a group called Start Out, and it's a LGBT startup community for entrepreneurs, and they're going to have about 500 people, and we're going to provide about 25 boxes to get our name out that way.
So you're, only 25 boxes. You're not planning to use the whole 100,000 to seed?
No. We're planning on sponsoring about 2 to 3 South by Southwest parties, but in a way that's cost efficient for us. We won't be using all of it for that.
So as Phoebe well knows from the beverage startups that she's done, working capital management is a big problem. Once you start stuffing retail, there are two things that happen. One is they expect you to pay for shelf space, number one, and number two, they expect you to be their bank. How are you going to do that with 100,000 bucks?
Well, as far as the Texas area, we don't have to pay for stocking fees in liquor stores, which is where we're going to primarily start out. And you're absolutely correct in terms of the working capital issues. We have a nice cushion right now in the $25,000. We feel based on what we're currently capable of doing in terms of our capacity of our warehouse is going to be enough for lead times on ingredients and waiting for that, you know, potentially 30, 60-day payment from the. You didn't like that answer?
It was mine. It's my bad.
I guess I'm a little concerned about the size of the raise that you're doing of $100,000 and a little bit of investing I've done in these types of products. It goes quicker than I ever imagined, and I've written a couple of checks. And so I'm trying to understand, if I were going to make an investment, a bit more about the terms. You're offering 11%. Does it convert at a discount? And have you considered the valuation, knowing that there's probably a cram down round coming around the corner very quickly?
Right. So if you want, is this it? Yeah. Okay. So this is the slide I can walk you through for the cash-on-cash return in terms of how we're thinking about it. You know, at the end of 2014, your shares can convert to a 10% stake, which at the valuation we're using, you know, we'll be doing $1.2 million in revenue and at a trailing 12-month multiple of 5 times, which is what Brown-Forman and Diageo trade at. That'll get us to the valuation of about $6 million. And then looking out, you know, we get to about a $20 million valuation, and your shares are about 10% of that. We're in a fortunate position. We will not have to look for a Series A given some of the relationships we have with friends and family. If the orders are there, we'll be able to finance it without hurting you guys. And this $100,000 is really just for the Austin, Texas area, which we feel is adequate.
Have you guys taken a look at the difficulties of going to additional states? You know, this is a state-by-state regulated industry. It is a massively, you don't really get economies of scale as you move from one state to the other. So you're kind of constrained by Texas at the moment?
Yep, Texas is very.
Go through all that new work in every other state.
You're absolutely right, and we've become well versed in the alcohol laws, the 3-tiered system in Texas. They say if you can make it as an alcohol company in Texas, you can make it anywhere. But we're already approved in Oklahoma. So that's going to be fine. As far as, we've looked into all these other states. Obviously, the laws vary by state, but none of them, in terms of the ones we're looking at, Arizona, California, are as stringent when it comes to wine as Texas is with their 3-tiered system. But we're absolutely looking into it. Another thing, a big thing for us can be we can sell online as a winery. And so we're looking into the laws state by state to be able to sell online into those states to get early adoption before we would, and to take that to a distributor in those regions too.
You've done a nice job with Flavorman. The extent of your lawyer, are they national in their knowledge, or are they state by state in terms of regulation?
They're national in their knowledge. They're out of DC, so it's Learman Beverage Law. Robert Learman, they actually represented Four Loko during that whole situation. We are currently evaluating different legal counsel in the Texas area so that we can be more specific as we get product on the shelves there. But as far as advice and services, getting our flavor approved, formula approved, all the packaging, they were absolutely top notch and moved really quickly.
So the key to success in alcoholic beverages is marketing. So it's one thing to have a distributor and put the product on the shelf. It's an entirely different thing to get the product off the shelf. And
right.
What are you going to do to get consumers to take the product off the shelf, especially since you're only raising $100,000?
You're full of great questions. You must have done this before. So we're going to be going, once we get in the shelves, and we want to start in the Austin, Texas area again, as we said. We're going to be driving around store to store as we get in the shelves with street teams, promotional, and that's part of the budget. We actually show you. We do have that in there.
Back to the slide, yeah.
We have the slide.
I don't know if it's in there. But
I don't know if it's in there. But anyway, we've broken out what the cost is going to go to in terms of retail store promotions. We estimate it's around $200 per pallet. What's the cost per pallet?
$300 per pallet.
$300 per pallet to promote this, and we've allocated that accordingly in terms of retail tastings, street teams, promotions, driving around, being in the store, using our network of tons of MBAs and students in at the UT campus. We have a ton of ambassadors, and we're just going to utilize everyone we got and blast ourselves out there.
That works.
In Austin.
In Austin,
Yeah. Right.
and that's why as soon as we and we're really hopeful, and we think there's a good chance that we'll get a national distributor a lot quicker than we ever expected, and we're fully prepared to co-pack and focus on branding and marketing.
Did you talk to Southern Wine and Spirits while you were here in Louisville?
Could you introduce us?
The biggest meeting we've got coming up is on March 1st with Republic. Alan Dreeben, who was a UT grad, really full-on supporter of UT, the University of Texas, as Jason said, loved our product and fully understood the opportunities with it, and personally invited us down to San Antonio to meet with him in 2 weeks. We think could be a huge win for us.
So how much track have you kept of your competitors? Because this is a common thing in the industry to have lots and lots of new ideas, and then they have to gain legs before anyone really look at the opportunity of acquiring them. So how many other, at the moment, alternative companies are there? And besides the wine angle, what differentiates you? I mean, you've got some clever packaging, but you only have a big package. You don't have an individual package. I mean, you got a lot of, you're putting some limits on yourself here.
Yeah. So you want to talk about dailies?
Sure. So there are obviously a lot of malts and alternatives that have come up in the last several years that's become more popular. And that all started with the tax gains that with wine being taxed greater, they became more popular. And now it's Dailies is one of the most comparable because of their being made with OTS as their main ingredient. But like we said, they're at 6% alcohol. They go a little bit higher in their demographic. Now, we know that certainly if they took notice of us or took notice of this opportunity, they could pivot. But they are sort of locked into their brand at this point, which is more mass marketed and shoots a little bit higher. The key for us is going to be moving as quickly as possible and getting to a point where we can scale so we can compete. The other thing is right now we just see ourselves as being really in touch with our customers, and our competitive advantage moving forward is going to depend on us staying very closely in touch with what they care about and what they need.
Have you done any formal consumer testing of this?
Yes.
What do they say?
So we recently we've done several focus groups where they've seen the product, they've seen the box. They're really excited, especially about the features and the social engagement part of it. We did want to look at taste specifically, though, because of its importance. At a recent event near the UT campus, we went head-to-head with a couple brands, including Franzia. We scored a 7 out of 10 as an average. This is some of the things they said about Franzia, which in our eyes has become sort of the default in these parties. again, we beat them 85 to 90% of the time. So we're confident that we have a taste that's favorable for our demo.
I'm just curious on my prior question about the financing of the 100,000. You mentioned you don't think you're going to need to go to an A round because family and friends would step in at that point. That's I think a little backwards from what I used to. Why not family and friends at first and then go ask for money on the back end of some successes?
Because they just want to see the orders first.
Basically,
That's why it's a much smaller ask at this point, with the equity kicker on the upside. But to your advantage, you know that that's coming in the form of a debt structure, and it's not going to affect your equity contribution, and it's going to really allow us to propel to those kind of numbers. And so it offers a huge equity upside within 3 years.
So I'm just trying to think about that debt security. As I understand it, the $100,000 effectively has a $900,000 pre-money. Is that correct? I mean, if I'm owning 10% of the company when I convert,
right?
I'm paying $100,000. That says that what you're valuing the equity at right now is $900,000. It's $1 million post money, and
correct. So
and your friends and family will lubricate you all the way up to being worth $6 million or whatever.
Correct. We see ourselves valued about $1 million right now, just based on all of the accomplishments we've had to date, as well as an order that we're filling in a couple weeks. We've eliminated a lot of the risks associated with investing in a company like us, given all the legal hurdles we've crossed. So that's the value we see ourselves today, and we'll grow over time.
So, what made you decide to have your own manufacturing as opposed to contracting out, especially given any, the regulatory hurdles that you had to go through in order to, it seems like for starting out that may not have been the most efficient, or am I missing something?
Absolutely. In a perfect world, we would have loved to co-pack from the get-go. The thing is, though, is because we are a bag-and-box design, we are limited in the number of co-packers that are available that actually have the machinery already in their facilities that can do this. And with, obviously, the low volumes that we're at right now, the amount of money that they would want to charge us for labor to clean those lines so they can stop and put our product on there just made it absolutely cost prohibitive. And so really to get to where we are, to get to where we want to be in the future, we have to manufacture this ourselves so that we can generate some orders and so that we can walk into these meetings with a product that is real and we can produce for at least a year to where we get to about 100,000 boxes. And at that point, we feel that not only would the 5 or so that already have the machinery be able to offer us a good price as far as the labor rate goes, but that others, if they were interested, would be able to justify the capital investment to buy the machinery to do the bag and box.
1 minute left.
And
what is the basis in your focus groups that you beat Frenzy on? Is it color, taste?
It was strictly
just taste.
It was a blind taste test, strictly taste. We put cups of Franzia, cups of us, and we had them try one, and we watched their face go like this, and then we watched them try ours, and they were much happier. They didn't know what ours was. They didn't know our packaging. They didn't know our price point. They didn't know anything other than this is what it tastes like.
So, quick question. Since you're packaging all this stuff in-house, I assume you have some pretty stringent processes for sanitary and things, but are there any kind of USDA or FDA or some kind of something you have to pass?
So the FDA wants nothing to do with alcohol companies. We've called the FDA several times trying to see what they think about our setup, and they don't want to talk to us. Luckily, we have Flavorman around the corner. When we create our first boxes, we send them to them, and they do shelf life studies. They actually just have been doing shelf life studies on the samples they made, and after 5 months, we still have held up incredibly well at room temperature. And in an accelerated study, we're looking at about 16 to 18 months shelf life. We're going to say a year to be safe, but that's kind of.